the mic.
He's the ace of the staff. Let's welcome in Logan Webb, one of the greatest pitching coaches around. Let's bring in Brian Price. Welcome in Lamont Wade Jr. Honored to have my guest on today, Kyle Harrison. Let's bring a friend of mine in, Pat Burrow. Pat, how are you today?
Bill, I'm doing great, man. Glad to be on with you.
Giants fans, this is Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On your exclusive home of the San Francisco Giants, KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
The fourth at bat with the runner in scoring position all night. The pitch, Wade drives one to right, easing over to his left. Tatis makes the catch. And the Giants have been shut out for the third game in a row at home. 3 straight games at home without scoring a run. Hard times here at Oracle Park, that's for sure.
All right, welcome into an extra inning post-game show on a Saturday evening with Bill Laskey. And this game, this team, you say disheartening? You say disappointing? Well, my word today is embarrassing. As a major league pitcher, pitching for the San Francisco Giants, watching this team, analyzing this team for years, the last 3 games are embarrassing. To see Donovan Walton go out there to throw an inning in front of the home crowd because you're getting whipped 8-0, embarrassing. It is embarrassing, Giants fans, and it's embarrassing to watch a team get shut out 3 straight games. 27 innings without getting a run. 14 hits. 5, 4, and 5. And this game, they only had 3 going into the 9th inning. They got 2 in the 9th inning. The San Diego Padres pounded them today. 17 hits, 1 home run, 7 extra base hits, going the opposite way on pitches. This is what a hitting team does. This is what a winning team does. Puts the ball in play. The Giants, once again, 10 strikeouts. 10 strikeouts. 37 strikeouts in 3 games. Don't look at the coaches. Look at the players. Look at each one of these players. And if you're telling me they're giving you 100%, I don't agree. There's no doubt in my mind. This is not a team that wants to win. This is a team that's going through motions. And I'm sick and tired of it. I am tired of watching a team that you're behind, and I analyze to watch them get 3 hits in 8 innings. Do you know the San Diego Padres had a runner in scoring position in every inning except the 3rd? Think about that. A runner in scoring position every inning except the 3rd. Now, one bright spot that I can sure in the hell talk about today was Mason Black. I thought he threw the ball extremely well. He goes 4 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned run, and that was just on a home run by Bogarts. I thought he did everything he could to keep this Giants team in the game, and he did. Only giving up 2 runs in 4 innings. The bullpen with Jelly and Hicks, pathetic. Both of them, 3 earned runs each. 1 going 2 innings, 1 giving a 1 and a 3rd innings. Both of them, no. Both of them, thumbs down. They did not pitch well at all. They had to go to Eric Miller, one of the top lefties, to get out of the inning. And he comes in, throws 2/3, gets out of it. But this offense is dismal. This offense has no life. Michael Conforto, who hasn't played in over 4 or 5 games, comes in, and it's the same identical thing, 0 for 4. And you could go right down this lineup. They had nothing going. They had a couple times. They had a couple runners in scoring position. Sure, they were 0 for 4, but they couldn't get them in. They got shut out 3 straight games in a row. They've won 1 out of their last 5 games. They've won 1 series out of their last 7 series. And we want to talk about prospects. We want to talk about who's next. We want to talk about all this youth that's going to turn around this organization. Come on. This is your young players. This is what you're watching. Marco Luciano going up there 0 for 3 with 2 more strikeouts. Brett Wisely 0 for 3 with a strikeout. We watched this yesterday. We watched the 7, 8, 9 hitters go up 0 for 9 with 6 strikeouts. That's your youth. Those are your prospects. And this is what we're going to turn the page on and see what's going to happen next year, 2025, with a youth movement? No, don't agree with it. Do not agree with it. Prospects? Absolutely not. Suspects? Oh, yeah, there's a ton of them. And you look at what the San Diego Padres have. The San Diego Padres are 3.5 games behind the LA Dodgers. Joe Musgrove, if you remember last week, before Tatis dropped the ball, he had a perfect game for 3 1/3. Tatis dropped the ball in right field and everything fell on him. Today, he was lights out. 6 innings, 3 hits, no walks, 8 strikeouts, 91 pitches, 60 for strikes. That's a big league pitcher right there. And you had one yesterday in Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease threw 6 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts. Oh, yeah, the Padres are on fire. Don't think the Padres aren't going after the Dodgers. Now, when you look at the schedule, the Padres play the Astros and the White Sox at home. Then they play LA and Arizona the last 6 games. But then you got to look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers have the Marlins and the Rockies for 3. They play San Diego for 3 and Rockies for 3. So you're talking about a layup right there. But don't count out the San Diego Padres. They're in a great position, in a wild card position. And you never know. Strange things happen the last 2 weeks of the season. 13 games left for the Giants. 13 games. And they're 72 and 77. This offense is pathetic. They should be taking their bats and go burning them because they're not using them. They're not using them, and it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing to watch. It's embarrassing to be a Giants fan right now, to watch a dismal team try to win games, and they haven't scored in 27 innings. 808 KNBR, if you're fired up like I am, give me a call. Let's talk about this. This is Extra Innings. My name's Bill Laskey. We're going to take a quick break and get on these phone lines. This is KNBR, the Sports Leader.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with former Giants right-hander Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR. Play KNBR.
All right, welcome back to the Extra Inning post-game show with Bill Laskey on a Saturday. Giants get shut out again, third straight shutout in a row. Their eighth shutout overall. You never know. Next 5 games, you never know. But so far, you know, Giants fans are reacting on the phone lines, 808 KNBR. I want to get to the phone lines. Yes, the Giants lost today 8-0. They had 5 hits in the game, absolutely no offense. 10 strikeouts again. I'm going to repeat it again. 37 strikeouts in their last 3 games in these shutouts. The young youth that are prospects are not making a grade. They are not playing well. Some misplayed balls today by Ramos in center field, A misplayed ball in the first inning, overthrown. The cut was supposed to go to third. He missed it. He thought it was going to second. He overthrew it, and a run scored on that play. And then in the middle of the game, in the 6th inning, it looked like a ball that got out of his hand, ended up just lobbing the ball in. And Machado got to second base. Just some bad defense, mental mistakes, as well as physical mistakes. This team is falling and falling fast. Where is it going to go? We don't know. It's getting worse by the game. And this is what Giants fans need to talk about. Let's get on the phone lines. Let's go to Don in San Francisco. Don, you're on Extra Innings with Bill Laskey. How you feeling tonight with this 3rd shutout in a row?
Oh, it's terrible. It's not. I don't know what the heck's happening. It's not good, Bill. You know, it's just how something's got to be changing on that team. You know, like.
Is it embarrassing to you, Don, when you watch a team like this, a team that you put your heart and soul in, and they just are not working out for you?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's not. It's just disgusting. What are they? It's just like they're not playing. They're not trying hard enough the way you look at this situation.
I agree. The offense is just dismal. When you see double-digit strikeouts, 37 of them in 3 games, what is going on about putting a ball in play? Maybe swinging at the first pitch sometimes. Again, strikeouts looking another number that's staggering on this team.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's true. There's just nothing. They're just playing like it's just like they're not. They're just like we're playing like sick ball.
Don, what can they do to change it? What can they do? Change the lineup again? Maybe do a couple other moves? Maybe bring up Wade Meckler? Maybe somebody else in AAA that's doing well? Would you like to see the main man, the young 19-year-old up here right now? And you know who I'm talking about is Eldridge. Would you like to see him come up and put it in this lineup?
Sure, bring somebody up here and do something. You know,
that's not going to happen, Don. He's only 19. He's just in AAA now, but I had to throw that in there. Don, thanks for the call. Let's see what else is on the lines here. Let's go to Glenn in Visalia. Glenn, you're on Extra Innings. How upset are you when you see 3 shutouts in a row?
Bill, I'm going to disagree with you on some aspect. I do blame Bob Melvin because Bob Melvin controls who plays. Bob Melvin could substitutes. I don't know if Bob Melvin hoped closed doors meetings, Bill, but what I'm sick and tired of is a stinking no heart. Where's the passion, man? The Giants should reimburse the money for the last 2 games, Bill. Come on, baby.
Glenn, they've gone backwards. Glenn, they're not moving forward. They want to see prospects. They want to see the young talent, and it's not working out. So what do, Glenn? Do you go back on the bench, just like what they did today? Put Canna back in, put Conforto back in. Encarnacion is not hitting now. He's had a couple good games. You have to switch this lineup, but what do, Glenn? You're the manager. You tell me what Bob Melvin's supposed to do. Tell me what you think they should do.
First of all, they'll reimburse the ticket prices.
Oh, come on. Don't go there, Glenn. That's not what I'm talking about. What in this lineup do you want to change? What do you want to change in this lineup, Glenn?
Bill, Bill, there's no answer to that.
Okay.
understand that.
Okay. Well, you go after Bob Melvin, and I'm telling you, if you were the manager on this team, what difference would you do in the lineup? What players would you play? What difference?
I see your point, Bill.
don't.
His hands is
Yeah. Okay.
tied.
All right, Glenn. I got you, buddy.
His hands, but Bill, tell me this. Don't you think they have their backside kicked?
They what?
Don't you think, Bill, that as a man that you should have the pride enough to go out there and try at least score 1 run?
Glenn, 100%. When I was on that team in 1985, when we lost 100 games, this is exactly what it looked like. This is exactly what the clubhouse looked like. Everybody had their head down. Nobody wanted to fire each other up. And this is exactly what I'm seeing in this team. The same dragging when they strike out. The eyes up in the heavens. How did I miss that? Get in and rip it and make contact. Do something different. Lay a bunt down. Do something different in your approach as a hitter. I want to see something like that because it's not working, whatever you're doing, when you strike out 37 times in 3 games.
12 games. Where's Chapman? Where's Webb? Where's Snell?
Well, that's what has to happen.
Sorry, Bill.
Glenn, stay fired up, buddy. Let's just see what happens here. 13 games left. I appreciate the call. Let's go to Pete on the peninsula. Pete, you're on Extra Innings with Bill Laskey. How upset are you watching this game at the park today? Are you there, Pete? No, Pete?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now, Pete. You're leaving the game. How disappointing were you watching this game today?
Well, you know what? The vistas coming in were beautiful. The food was great. I got my 9 pass for the football season. Other than that, it's the same thing we've been seeing since July.
The checks on the box for you worked, right, Pete? All the things that you wanted were there.
They do not hit. They haven't been hitting all year. And that goes back to the coaches, and that goes back to the manager. And I'm going to disagree with you on Melvin. Where's McRae? Those balls that they lost in center field, he'd have ran down.
Well, McRae, if you remember, hit the wall last night. I don't know if you remember this, Pete. He hit the wall, and he hit his shoulder, and he hit his neck, and they took him out of the game. And he went and got an X-ray. Everything was fine. He was a little stiff going into the game today. That's why he didn't start. At the end of the game, when they double-switched, he had to play.
Yeah, they missed him. I'll tell you what, they missed him, because you know what he did? He ran down about 3 balls, and first time up gets a hit.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, Ramos has played center field as best as he could, but he's not a center fielder. He's a left fielder, a corner outfielder.
And the other weakness out there, I like Canna hitting, but he's not an outfielder.
No,
You've got to have speed out there.
No, Canna shouldn't have been playing right field today. I would have put Encarnacion out there before Canna. Canna was running all over the place. His routes to the ball were brutal out in outfield today.
Yep. And I'll tell you the worst thing is, it's hitting. And I remember watching what Soto said when that Soto was off one day. And an announcer asked him, he had 3 home runs in one game. He said, all I was trying to do was put the barrel on the ball.
Yep, that's the key.
Simple as that. These
Very
guys
simple.
Are professionals, right? Who's coaching them? Put the barrel of the frickin' bat on the ball. That's all you need to do.
Well, when you look, Pete, when you're looking at 37 strikeouts in 3 games, your approach, your mental approach, your physical approach has to change. Something's got to change here because you're going up there striking twice, 2 out of 3 times, most of them are, or striking out 1 out of 3 times with weak ground balls. It's pathetic. It's embarrassing is what it is.
If you watch the Padres, situational hitting,
they
got a guy on second. The guy's up there, number 9, hitting it to the right side. Moves him over, off hitter gets up, bam, single, knocks him in.
I love how I tell you, Pete, they watch the ball into the zone more, and then they go the opposite way. Just great hitting and just good approach. And you see it from Machado. You see it from Tatis. Luis Ariz is a machine going the other way if he sees a ball out of the outside corner. These guys are professional hitters getting paid big money. And this team right now, don't forget, the San Diego Padres have 84 wins. The Dodgers have 87. Tough schedule for the Padres, lighter schedule for the Dodgers. But when you get hot in the month of September, Pete, you know this, you can run the table in a wild card and get right into this.
Yeah, if you're on a hot streak, you ride that all the way through. But I'll tell you what, I'll let you go, Bill. But Tell me who let Solano go? Donovan. Which
that was a while. Yeah, that was a while ago because he played in Minnesota and he played in another place. That guy can still hit. At one time, he had more hits than the Giants in this game. He had 4 hits. The Giants had 3 at one time.
Crazy. All right. Hey, have a good night, Bill.
Thanks, Pete, for the call.
Buddy.
Yep. Thanks for the call, Pete. All right. Let's go to Craig in Arizona. Craig, you're on Extra Innings on a Saturday evening. A fired-up crowd. How are you?
My fellow Guillermo, here we go again.
Yep, here we go again. Another shutout, another dismal offensive game, double-digit strikeouts, and now it's not disappointing anymore, Craig. It's embarrassing. And I'll be the first person to say it's embarrassing watching his team hit.
Yeah, I love you being all fired up. We'll make you a Yankee fan yet.
Nah, I can't go over there yet. Come on.
Well, the Giants are like the upcoming election.
Don't go there either. Don't go there.
No.
Let's talk baseball,
it's hard
my
to
friend.
watch, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah, well, it is definitely sad because I'm trying to see a team that's falling fast, and there's nobody stopping them because nobody's hitting, and when they do get on, they don't come in. The runners in scoring positions, another dismal day. 0 for 7 in 2 games against the Padres, when last weekend they won 2 out of 3. So how does that change over a week?
That's what they call baseball. Well, listen, we still have a great foundation. Who has won the most World Series in the last 15 years? The Giants. Who has unarguably
10 years
the
ago,
best ball
10 years
yard?
ago, Craig. 10 years ago, Craig. What's happened in the last 10 years?
I know it. We have the
foundation
best ball
of
yard
youth
in all of Major League Baseball.
Craig, let me throw this to you. The foundation of youth that we've been waiting for years, not 1 year, 2 years, when they were all in AA, they got to AAA, are now here. These guys are all here. There may be a couple more in AAA. What are you seeing out of these so-called quotation prospects? Not much. Not much. Elliot Ramos has calmed down, cooled down. Fitzgerald has got a bag back. Those are my 2 favorite young players that really made a difference this year. Those are the 2 that really stood out. Position players. You could go to the bullpen and talk about Eric Miller. You could talk about Ryan Walker. Some of those guys in that bullpen have been lights out. It's not been dismal with everybody being down, but when I'm looking at a team that's 72 and 77, and now Cincinnati has now leaped them in the wild card, and we know they don't have a chance for the wild card, but now you might even have Pittsburgh over them, and now you're falling way down. Something's got to happen here. Something's got to happen here, and somebody's going to have to pay the point. And it's got to be Farhan that's going to have to come out at the end of this year and say what he needs to do. If he's going to stay here, he needs to change something, and he needs to change something fast because there's a lot of upset Giants fans. My lines are full right now because they're embarrassed to be Giants fans, and they should be after 3 shutouts.
Hey, let me make this last point real quick. When they re-signed Matt Chapman, okay, I thought they were making a kind of a big deal about it.
Real happy with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. But what I thought about was like if the Yanks back in the day would have re-signed Greg Nettles, is Chapman as good a fielder as Nettles? Probably. A good hitter? Probably as good as Nettles. But Nettles had everybody around him who was as good as him, Greg Nettles, or better.
Right.
So I think they got to start really thinking about surrounding Matt Chapman with really
when you see
good
Matt
players
Chapman hitting
somehow.
4th, he's not a 4-hitter. There's no question about it. He knows that. He's more of a 5-6 or maybe even a 2-3. He is not a base 4-hitter. He's not a guy, even though he's got 24 home runs, 73 RBIs, you could use him in the 5th or 6th spot because he is a solid hitter. But, boy, his numbers are now coming down. He's 247 right now. He was well over 250. All these numbers are falling and falling fast when you don't score a run and you only get 15 hits in 3 games. That's 27 innings, and they haven't scored.
Yeah. And
all right, my friend.
Let
Well,
me
thanks
tell
for the
you,
call.
Recent
well,
memory,
I got other calls coming, buddy. I got to run. All right, thanks.
All right,
we're
thank
going to
you.
take a quick break here. Please don't go anywhere. I got about 6-7 calls on hold. I want to get to all of you, Giants fans, 808 KNBR. Sound off on what you feel this Giants team is, and are you embarrassed as I am when you watch this team get shut out 3 times? I'm Bill Laskey. This is Extra Innings. More coming up right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
But what I'm sick and tired of is a stinking no heart.
KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey keeps the postgame rolling live right here.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
Opened up stance. Here it comes. Swing, line drive in the deep center field. Going way back there. Still going back. And off the top of the wall. Ramos plays the carom. Comes up throwing toward second base. And it's a bad throw. Nobody was at second base. And coming around to score instead of stopping at third, Profar. So a throw that went nowhere, and that gives away the run, and it is 1-0 Padres.
All right, back on Extra Innings, post-game show with Bill Laskey. That was a double. The Padres had 7 extra base hits, 1 home run by Bogarts, 397 feet. That was the only earned run that Mason Black gave up. The Giants lose today 8-0. Tomorrow, 1:05 first pitch. Martin Perez, a left-hander for the Padres. He's 4-5 with a 4.46 earned run average. And Landon Root back in the starting rotation. He is 0-1. Later in the show tonight, I sat down with 92-year-old Jack McKeon. If you remember the Padres back in the day, he was called Trader Jack. And I sat down with him, of course, 16 years as a manager, 10 years as a front office executive with the Padres. He's been elected into the San Diego Padre Hall of Fame, a World Series champion when he managed the Florida Marlins in 2003, two-time National League manager, 1999 with the Reds, and then again 2003 with the Florida Marlins. And it is an exceptional interview, so sit back and listen to that after we get through with a lot of these calls. But right now, let's take a look at the standings update. That's sponsored by the Alameda County Probation Department. Visit joinacpd.org today for a career that matters. The Dodgers got pounded by the Atlanta Braves 10-1. They're 87-61. Of course, the Padres won. They're 84-65, 3.5 games out. The Diamondbacks got pounded by the Brewers 15-8. They're 82-66, 5 games back. The Giants are now 72-77, 15.5 games out. Colorado ended up winning today. They're 57-92. Giants going after a win tomorrow. They are 6-6 against the Padres, so a rubber match to see if they can pull out a series win. They are now 1-6, or I shouldn't say series win. I should say a 1 win in a series because they just lost 2 in this series. They've lost. They're 1-6 in their last 7 series. All right, let's get back to the phone lines. Let's go to Bruce. He's in his car. Bruce, you're on Extra Innings. How are you, my friend?
Always good to talk to you, Bill. And to add a little levity to your show, you were a part of that 1985 team, and you remember we used to go down and talk to Jim Davenport after the game, and Jimmy would say, "We're throwing the ball good. We just ain't hitting it, dadgummit. I don't know what to do."
Yeah, Bruce, and you looked in our locker room, and it's probably as dismal as this locker room. Everybody has their head down. Nobody wants to fire the troops. Everybody is just kind of look at me, but nobody's doing anything different. Bruce, 37 strikeouts in 3 games. That is not acceptable.
Well, and I don't remember, you'll have to look it up, and I've tried to look it up, and maybe John Miller mentioned it. I don't remember a Giants team ever being shut out 3 games in a row. But, not to get off on a tangent about this, injuries are a part of the game, and the Giants have had their share of them. But I think Farhan Zaidi, he has a tendency to sign guys to big contracts, and some of them are not in full health, whether it's Conforto and Haniger a few years ago. Blake Snell wasn't ready to go this year. Jordan Hicks finally ran down. I think the big problem, Bill, and you know this because you played the game and you understand it better than any of us that are out here, but we watch this team and we don't see a lot of leadership. I think Chapman is a leader, but she needs more support. And how do you get that? How do you find that intangible quality? I don't know, but I don't think Farhan Zaidi is doing a good job identifying it.
Well, and you said the right thing. He seems to pick up players that are injured. He picks up players that came off of, just like Robbie Ray coming off of TJ. He got rid of a couple bad contracts with DeSclafani and a couple other people, but at the same time, he's not picking up anybody to help him. I go back to the trade deadline. The only hitter he got was Canna. And I think that was because Bob Melvin kind of went in and said, hey, we need a little more help on the offensive side. And for Farhan to come out and say this is the best rotation in baseball, put the microscope right on the starting staff. And they really put a lot of pressure on these guys, and sure enough, a few of them faltered. Harrison, the young Harrison, just isn't, up to it yet. Birdsong pitched great the other day, but he's still a young pitcher. But, boy, when you put that kind of target on your starting staff, that's not too good when you don't have offense to follow it up.
And finally, Bill, I will say, not to, pile on and belittle a losing team, but I started watching this team play, going to Seal Stadium when I was a little boy, covered the team from 1982, your first year with the Giants. Matter of fact, the first game I ever covered as a member of the media back in San Francisco was your shutout against the Expos, and I covered them all the way through Bruce Bochy's final year. And wow. I cannot remember a season with such high expectations that has been so disappointing. Bill, final thought. It was last night. I'm at home watching the game on TV. I watched the first 2 innings. I said, I'm going to watch a movie. I put on 12 Angry Men with Henry Fonda.
Oh, that's even a better one, Bruce.
Yeah, but then I came back. And watched the last 2 innings, and it was more painful. So I had to laugh. Baseball, Bill, you've been around it all your life. You played it, and you played it at the highest level. It's a cyclical thing, as Marty Lurie would say. You go through your highs, your lows. The last several years have been really down. I'm convinced in a couple years the Giants will be back, but I don't know how they're going to do it. But I really am convinced that the odds will finally turn in their favor somehow in 2026 or 2027.
Yeah, we're hoping for the best, but, like I said earlier, we want to see all these prospects come up and see if they're major league level, Bruce, and they're just not performing. Of course, Fitzgerald and Ramos did extremely well, but then you're looking at Luciano, who they said one of the best prospects. They can't find a position for him because second base is not even a position for him. You could go on and on. Brett Wisely came up. He got hot. He's cold. Ramos is not a center fielder. Of course, when you look at Grant McCray, who was injured, not going into the game today. I don't know where Yastrzemski was today with a righty throwing. So there's a lot of question marks how the lineup was put out there, but something's got to change, Bruce. It's getting worse. And when you get 3 shutouts on a row, 27 innings, after you score 13 runs, bad approach, bad hitting.
I'm looking forward to seeing Young Hoo Lee back next year. I think they really missed that kid. He was off to a good start. Bill,
Bruce,
so nice
thanks for the call
man.
Tonight, my friend. Thanks. It's always great talking to you. Be well.
You too, buddy.
All right. That was Bruce McGowan, a good friend of mine for many years back in the 80s, and still is a good friend. And he listens to the show, and he called in, and I really appreciate his time, Bruce. All right, let's go out to Pioneer and talk to Jack. Jack, I know you are fired up today. Jack, tell me what your thoughts are.
Well, Dr. Laskey, you need a doctor.
I do one tonight. I'm a little fired up today, Jack. I just cannot stand shutouts. I cannot stand watching Joe Musgrove just carve up this offense with absolutely nothing coming out of these bats. And then you start making mental errors on the defensive end. Like they used to say, put a 10 over the circus because it's not getting any better.
Well, I think I'm calling it tonight because my emotions are very lukewarm. I might be in shock.
What's the reason? Why would you say that?
Well, because I was listening to Marty Lurie today, and, he made a comment about, the runners in scoring position has been a problem and the amount of strikeouts and all that. And I just thought to myself, Marty's got a keen sense of the obvious.
Well, and the other thing too, Jack, that's been going on all year. It's not something we're just picking up and talking about now. This has been going on. Runners in scoring position has been horrible for this team. And, a couple callers today, a couple callers earlier, which really opened up my eyes, and I'm true with it. Just the way the Padres approach is. The Padres with 2 strikes, cutting down the big swing, going the opposite way. Tatis had a great hit to right field today with 2-strike approach. It's a different hitting approach. You and I always talk about this. And I tell you, you get a guy with Machado with a ball inside, and he gets his hands on it, and he'll push it to right field every time.
Well, that's a great segue, Bill, because hitting coach's approach to the plate, I think it's a 2-pronged thing, which is really, that's why I'm numb. because the batting coaches have got an approach. Let's say it's bad. Also, plus, so here's the biggest problem. Plus, you have below average players trying to execute that strategy, and that is.
And that's been one of the things, Jack, changing their plan, I remember talking to Joey Bart where they changed his entire swing path and trying to change it to more of an uppercut. That's what's happening. You and I talked about this, Jack, for many weekends on just not putting the ball in play and cutting your swing down. Runners in scoring position. I kept bringing up my interviews with Bill Matlock and Dwayne Murphy, and I keep repeating myself with them saying, take yourself out of the position and put your position of just making contact, making sure you put the ball in play. And these guys just don't do that. They still go with that swing path, and they watch strike three time and time again.
Do you think that they're nervous about getting cut or not progressing in their career? Because
all I got to tell you is they better start thinking about that, Jack. This isn't a red carpet treatment for any of these guys. There could be released at the end of the year. That's why I'm saying to myself, you better look in the mirror, pal. You might not have a contract at the end of the year. I don't care how old or young you are. This is a game of failure, and if you're failing and you can't get back up and make adjustments, see you later. It's not going to be here next year.
Well, and that's my point. I'm looking at all these people, callers, fans like me, and I'm saying, hey, I told you so, I told you so. But you and I have been talking enough.
Sure have.
Just to see the eyeball test. Just the eyeball test. I watched a lot of games, unfortunately, this year. And, I played baseball, but not at an extremely high level. But I got to say, people get all excited about McRae. They were all getting excited about Schmidt, Matos, Luciano, Isley, and Carciano.
Encarnacion, yep.
Yeah, Encarnacion. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
And I'm going, what do they say? Why is people getting excited, these people? They're average. McRae's averages dip like crazy. Yeah, he's a good center fielder and all that, but he's not the second coming of Christ.
Well, he had 2 home runs last Saturday. Grant McRae did.
Yeah, so what?
He went 1 for 20 his next 20 at bats.
What?
And that's what I'm saying. You can brag, you can talk, you can be arrogant, but you get humbled because you're not doing it consistently. And you can be happy, you can talk all you want, but you're going to be humbled. And you've only got 19, 23 games, something like that. There's no reason why you should be talking how great you are. You got to do it consistently. And that's what, Tim Flannery used to say, if you're going to be humbled, you better be humble because the game of baseball will humble you. And that's exactly what it will do. And
Bill,
the thing is...
Bill, I think we rehearsed this call.
Yeah, I'm sure, Jack. I'm sure we did.
You're like right on with everything that I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing.
Last one, Jack.
What?
Last one for you.
Yeah. So people get all excited about Chapman. Okay. I'm going, okay, that's cool. He's a good player. He's not a great player, but how is he going to turn around this team in 2025?
Well, let's hope what he's saying, that he's got people, friends, close friends that could possibly be recruited. These are things that when you're a player and you play with different teams, don't forget he played with Oakland, played with Toronto. He might have some close friends that possibly he could sway to come over here. These things do happen. That's the fraternity of baseball, Jack. No question about it. You hear Webb talking about bringing Snell back. I don't want him to go. We got to find a way to keep him. But when you're looking at this offense as a pitcher and you're looking at exactly what Blake Snell wants to do and continue to pitch a 2-time Cy Young winner, he wants to get in the Hall of Fame, how are you going to do that when you're not getting any runs? He was pitcher of the month of August. Pitcher of the month of August with 1 win.
Why would you want to pitch for this team?
I don't know. But I guess, it's teammates, it's friendships, it's love of the game, it's the city, it's everything that you want is here. But you got to make a better plan for the upcoming years. No, I got to
real
go,
quick.
Jack. Jack, I got to go. We'll talk again. I'm on every weekend. We always do this, but have a great night. Some good points again, Jack. All right, I got to take a quick break on a half hour. I got a few more calls on the line. I got 5 of them out there. We're going to keep talking. We're going to keep talking because this is Extra Innings. This is Giants Baseball. I'm Bill Laskey. More coming up right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
Bill is back.
Fired up, bringing it, all excited.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Listen on your Google Home smart speaker by saying play KNBR.
All right, back on Extra Innings. Giants lose today 8-0. They're 72-77 on the season. 41-36 at home. They will have a winning record at home. They only have, 4 more games, so they're good there. Now, though, the San Diego Padres, the Giants were up 6-4 coming into this series. Now it's 6-6, and the rubber game is tomorrow to see who takes the series. All right, let's get back to the phone lines. Like I said, Jack McKeon coming up, Trader Jack. All right, let's go to Jonathan. He's on 280. Jonathan, are you still driving, or did you make it home?
No, I'm on 85 now.
Oh, you made it out 280, so you're good. You're going good. How are you?
I'm good, Bill. How are you doing?
Well, I'm just a little fired up tonight. I just feel I'm embarrassed for this team. I feel embarrassed that this team can't hit. I'm looking at these prospects with a lot of ability, and they just aren't producing.
That is very disappointing. Yeah, I wasn't actually even going to listen to KNBR on the way home. I was so upset about the game, but when I got in my car, I turned it on, and I heard you all fired up. I was like, you know what? Misery loves company. I got to
you know what? Sometimes, Jonathan, I did it last year. I've done it every year. The last couple of years. I went off on Gabe Kapler a lot last year with the decisions he did. I went off on poor play, and I watched these last 2 games, and I just said, okay, they're very well pitched against them. You turn the page. Today, I didn't see anything, and you were at the game, and I know you didn't see much out of the offense, and that's why I said this team is embarrassing to me, embarrassing for Giants fans to put their heart and soul into it, and this is the result you're getting.
Yeah, it's a lot like, I think Bruce was saying it's a season where I don't remember there being quite a great disparity between what we expected and what we're actually getting. It reminds me of maybe 2005-ish, 6-ish, when the Giants were still carrying themselves like this powerhouse team, but they kept trying to add pieces around Bonds, but they couldn't get into playoffs. It kind of reminds me of that, but at least this team has some youth coming up. However, the youth, Tyler Fitzgerald, very excited about him.
Very good.
Ramos, despite his recent struggles, I still think he has a place. I think we should be putting him in left field and just
keeping
him
there.
where.
Yes, I agree. Keeping him there and let him, and he's made some fantastic plays in left field, going down to that corner, making some great catches, going on the warning track. I'm right there with you, Jonathan. Keep him in left field because that's where he's going to play most of the year for next year. I feel he's more left field than right field. I think you need a little bit more speed in right field if you're going to play that gap in the right center field, and of course that's going to be a hole to be filled. I don't think they're sold on Yastrzemski yet. I think you need to find some power hitting outfielders and not just go with what you've seen for the last few years.
Well, I mean, maybe. Doesn't Yastrzemski have one more year on his contract?
He's done. No, he's under arbitration. He won. He signed for $8 million. His numbers are equal to a lot of older players that are making big money. But I think the question is, he's 34 years old, and are you ready to give up $10, $11 million to a guy that can play good defense? The average has been dipping. The numbers aren't hot. We've seen him strike out so much in April and May and June. And you start thinking about what has he done as a Giant to put him into another position of another year. Great guy, super great guy in the clubhouse, great teammate, everything to checks the boxes. But is that what you're going to rely on for another $10 or $11 million? I'm kind of 50-50 with that right now.
No, I mean, I think if he came back, I wouldn't be disappointed. But they couldn't. I don't think they should invest a lot of money in that. No way.
Yeah, and I think there's other players, and maybe you can mix in a trade and get somebody of equal value that could be more of a power hitter. He's great defensively. There's no doubt about it. He's probably the best right fielder they have. But when I look at numbers and you start looking at strikeouts, the elevated fastball, the breaking ball out of the zone, he hasn't changed and made those adjustments at all this year.
No. I wanted to ask you, though, because you played and everything I'm complaining about is just me theorizing. But I've read several quotes from Thomel and from Justin Biele, like early in the season, where they're saying, well, these guys, we don't need to teach them how to hit. The hitting coaches don't need to teach these guys anything. And Thomel, even 4 days ago, said the coaches are doing a fantastic job.
I've been saying that the whole time, though, Jonathan. I watch these guys before practice. They're out there 3 hours, iPad, showing swing pass, doing different things. Even Barry Bonds has been in there in the batting cages. And I say, everybody wants to fire this guy or get rid of this guy. And as an ex-player, I'm saying, look at the players. Are they making the adjustments? Are they changing for what they're trying to get them to do? Because it doesn't seem like the adjustments are happening. And when you're not making contact, you're constantly striking out, and now you're striking out on call strike threes without any kind of swing path. I question the player. And I think that's what they have to do. They have to look at every player and see have they gotten better? Have they gotten worse? Are they big league ready? And I think that's going to be the big question when they start looking at all these young players for the next year or two.
Well, Bill, with all due respect, I think that is a great observation. But, are we really going to say that there's 17 guys that all don't know how to hit? Isn't it possible that this is kind of a top-down problem? Because
I think it's a problem altogether. I'm not going to say no hitting coach has been doing a great job, because they're not. Because of the reflection on what is going on with runners in scoring position, running bases differently. There's so many different things that happened on this team this year. No, I think all coaches and managers are pointing a finger at them too. I'm not saying there's no clean slate for anybody, because this team was going to be a good team. When they left spring training, the hopes were high. The salary was paid. But you know what? It never came to fashion. And what had happened? You never saw a long winning streak. You saw a couple wins. You got them to 500, they'd go backwards. You'd get back to 500, they'd lose again. They've never have been over 500 more than 3 games. And that tells you the entire clubhouse is to blame.
Yeah. No, indeed. There's plenty of blame to go around when you have a team that...
All right, Jonathan, I got to run, buddy. Thanks for the call. We'll talk more.
Right,
Keep talking, buddy. Safe drive. All right, let's go out to Humboldt and talk to Lauren. Lauren, you're on Extra Innings on a Saturday night. Hope you're well.
Good evening, Bill. How are you tonight?
I'm a little fired up today. I'm a little fired up, a little crusty. Yeah, I'm just a little angry. Let's put it that way. I just don't like what I'm seeing, and what I want to see isn't what they're producing.
I agree completely. The word embarrassing that you used is 100% accurate for what we're seeing. It does feel like this team is just cratering. It seems like the wind of the sails of let's make the playoffs has just completely evaporated, obviously, and they're just it's reflecting in the play. I feel like they've just kind of lost a lot of their soul and their spirit, and probably for the rest
I think that's a great way to say it, Lauren. I really do. And everybody says, well, shouldn't they have a clubhouse meeting? A clubhouse meeting isn't going to change your approach. A clubhouse meeting isn't going to start airing people out when there's only 13 games. This is the time when each player has to look at himself and say, hey, if I don't get going here, you know what? I might be looking for a team here in November and December, because there's nothing guaranteed. You're on one-year contracts. And one-year contracts can easily be let go if you're not putting numbers up or even producing that you're supposed to.
That's a great point. It's been brought up in the media, I guess, that apparently the Farhan and Melvin's contracts are only guaranteed through next year with an option for 26 as well.
Yeah, John Shea came up with that. Great writer for the Chronicle, and he did some research. And when Bob Melvin came over, one of the remarks said they signed a 3-year contract, and of course 1 year and then 2 extra. And I think what he found was it was 1 year this year with 1 more with an opportunity to move forward. So,
right.
I look at 2 things here. Gabe Kapler had 1 year left on his contract. I think it was like $750,000, $850,000. They let him go, and they paid him this year. So, you know what? I don't know what these guys are making. I don't have a question, and none of my business. But you know what? When you're looking in the mirror here, you got 13 more games left, and if this thing's falling fast, somebody's going to have to pay the price here. They can't just turn the page and say, okay, let's start all over again. Something has to change There has to be something that moves the meter in a positive way.
I completely agree, and I think it's more than likely that they're going to keep Farhan through next year, more than likely. Mm-hmm. I would say that if to keep him beyond next year certainly requires a better result than we've seen, and I do see some kind of potential moving forward into next year. This Bryce Eldridge kid is just shooting up through the minors.
He got a hit in AAA today, Lauren. He's got a hit in every division this year. That's awesome.
He did.
19 years old. Woof.
One of my thoughts is for a better. I see potential for next year, but it's going to take a smart off season. And I honestly, personally, my feeling is I don't have as much faith in Farhan as I think the ownership might. But I think that we're probably going to be forced to just hope for a really bang off season. And I think that extending Snell the way they did Chapman would go a long way towards rebuilding our faith.
I really do. I think that's something they really have to look at. And you got to look at Blake Snell. He says he likes it here. Of course, Logan Webb saying he's going to do everything he can, loves him as a teammate, loves him in the rotation. Most likely you'll have Robbie Ray back in because he's got a out, but he'll stay for another, 18, 20 million. You got a couple of young pitchers in Birdsong and Harrison. I loved what Mason Black did today, and he's only 24 years old. You do have a good mix of starting pitching and bullpen. In the bullpen, you can go one after another down there with some of the rookies they had. Eric Miller's just been lights out. You look at Walker. There's so many of them. But they got to do something, Lauren, on the offensive side. They have to get some better bats. But I appreciate your call today, Lauren. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Sacramento and talk to Christian. Christian, you're on Extra Innings on a late night. Thanks for holding on. What's going on?
Turn it down. Hey, Bill. How you doing?
How are you?
Good.
Thanks for holding, Christian. I appreciate you holding on. All these callers that are holding, please stay there. I'm not going to let you go, and I appreciate the time you're holding on to talk to me. So let's talk, Christian. Are you upset at this team? Are you embarrassed at this team? How do you feel about this team right now?
Yeah, we're heading home from the yard right now, and, I was embarrassed about the 5th or 6th inning there. All I could focus on was Marco Luciano there,
Mm-hmm.
Like 0 for 4.
A big-time prospect that they've been talking about for years. And, of course, ripping the ball in A-ball and AA and even in AAA. But something here at the big league level, he just can't, turn the page yet. He's a good hitter, but lately he isn't. He's not even, putting ball in play. And I don't know if there's a position for him. Christian, tell me, do you think he's a second baseman? Do you think he's a shortstop? What do you think for this young infielder?
No, I don't think he's going to shake out as a shortstop. I think there's other options that they have available to them. I mean, what do you want to consider? Wisely, Fitzgerald. You got some good options there.
Yeah, you got some options coming up in the off season too. In Kim out of San Diego, even though he's got a sore arm. Jung-Hoo Lee and him are best of friends. That's a possibility. He's a very good shortstop that's played with the Padres for years.
I'm convinced that the only reason that, Giants fans came out to the park tonight was for that Niners hat, giveaway.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I had a caller saying, Bill, I got my hat, I got my nachos, I got my cold beer. I had a great time at the park today, but the game stunk.
Oh, man.
So he checked really off all the boxes, Christian, and maybe you did too.
It did. It did for that reason alone, but other than that, yeah, definitely a disappointment. I just had one question for you, though. It's really about, what kind of moves do they make in the offseason, and how does the infield and the outfield shake out? Who
I think,
where?
You got Jung-Hoo Lee's going to be back. You know that. Jung-Hoo Lee's will be in center field. You got Ramos who's going to come back. I think those are two cornerstones. After that, we just don't know if they're going to go after Yastrzemski or Conforto, one or the other. You're not going to get them both back. Or do you pass on both of them? Don't forget, Yastrzemski's 34. I think Conforto's 32. Both of them are similar very well in striking out a lot, home run here and there, RBIs a little bit. Yastrzemski, I think, is a better outfielder. 34 years old. I don't know if you're ready to give $10 million or more on a one-year contract. I just don't know what out there in free agents for the outfield. Infield, you definitely have to look at first base. And that's where Bryce Eldridge's name comes up. Of course, he's a first baseman, 19 years old. really moving up in the organization fast. Do you possibly put him as the starting first baseman next year? You got second base that's got a hold. Estrada was the guy holding it for many years, and now there really is nobody there. And at shortstop, it depends on what they want to do with Fitzgerald. Chapman's a great sign. I really like what they did with him. And behind the plate, Patrick Bailey is just beat up. I don't know if Murphy's he's got one more year on his contract at $4 million. I just don't know if that's strong enough in the catching position. So that's kind of what my highlight was, if you're asking me questions, and that's kind of what there's out there.
Do you think they'd target anybody like Bo Bichette, Juan Soto, anybody like that?
Well, I tell you who I'd really like them to go to is Pete Alonso, the polar bear of the Mets. He's a free agent. I would love to see something like that happen. You know, you got so many different free agents, but there's going to be a lot of money and there's going to be a lot of tug and war with other teams. It's going to play out. Once that World Series is over, you're going to find a list of names of all type of players, even free agents in the minor leagues that you could strap on and maybe pick up a couple guys that could be insurance for you. It's going to be a big day when you're going to look at a whiteboard and see hundreds of names on it, and who do you go after and who don't you go after, and what agents have certain players. And that really starts dictating which contracts you do, how long they want. It's a long process. And I think the first thing Giants fans want to know if Farhan Zaidi and Bob Melvin are going to be back next year. They have one more year on their contract guaranteed. Will they eat it? Will they move forward? Or will they give them one more year to try to make this team better?
Man, we need some offense, Bill. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate
Christian,
it.
thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Got a few more calls coming. We're going to take a quick break here. I'm Bill Laskey. This is Extra Innings. More coming up right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
The game may be over, but we know you want to talk more ball. So KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey continues.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
We are KNBR 104.5 and 6.8, the sports leader.
All right, back on Extra Innings, hanging out with Bill Laskey on Saturday night. Giants lose today 8-0. They had 3 hits till the 9th inning, got a couple hits in the 9th, but could not score. They got shut out 3 games in a row, one by Milwaukee on Thursday, and of course yesterday and today by the Padres. Tomorrow, the Giants need a win, and they're 6-6 against the Padres this year. They need a win to take the 7-6 13-game series. Of course, the Padres won the series, winning the first 2 games, and now the Giants are 1-6 in their last 7 series. Before they hit the road, they travel on Monday. They go to Baltimore for 3, Kansas City for 3, and Diamondbacks for 3 before they come home with the last homestand Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the 27th, 28th, and 29th of September. All right, let's get back to the phone calls. Let's talk to Daniel in San Francisco. Daniel, first and foremost, thanks for holding on. I appreciate your time waiting. What is going on with you, my friend?
Hey, my brother, I can feel your pain, man, with the Giants. But when we grew up, man, we had an AM radio. Sometimes we had a 9-volt. Sometimes we didn't. Giants was all we had. I can never be upset at the Giants. And
well, it's not being upset. It's not, Daniel, it's not being upset. It's being embarrassed. And when I'm watching a Giants team and I watch how they swing and they watch how they hit and I watch how they play defense, when I see things that should be cleaned up by the middle of September or a different approach at the plate, I am embarrassed and I am upset. And I can't just turn the page and say, okay, it's going to be better tomorrow, because it hasn't been that way.
Come on, man. Let's be truthful. It hurts, man. But last year I said this was going to happen this year. I said that last year. Now, trust me, next year they'll be in the playoffs. I guarantee you, man. They will be in the playoffs. All right?
And how are they going to fix all this stuff, Daniel? How are they going to fix this in 1 year? How are they going to fix it in 3 months? Because it's going to be November, December, and January. How are they going to do it? What players do you think they're going to go after? What players they're going to get traded? Because you're looking at the prospects right now. Are they prospects now? Or do you think they're suspects? Do you think teams are going to want Luciano as this top number 1 prospect anymore?
We're going to see him develop somewhere. Matos, we're going to see him develop somewhere, but somewhere else. Right now, Luciano, he seems so afraid to make any mistakes at all.
Good point.
Petrified.
That's a good point.
He can't move.
He's not relaxed. There's no doubt about it. Even going out for cuts or knowing where to be at second base at certain times, he's definitely confused out there, and the game is going right too fast for him right now.
Yeah, Giants fans, they like polished players. They like pro players. These guys coming up from the minors, they're not polished yet, but they will be. Now, if we hang in there, we need a first baseman. He has to be about 32 years old so he can get out of the way for Eldridge when he comes up, right? He can't.
Well, unless Daniel, you give him the keys and say, you're 19 years old, you're a superstar, let's get it on. He's raking again. He's got a hit in AAA off a lefty tonight. You can't just slow this kid. You can't slow the kid down. If he's able to be in the big leagues, get him here.
He's got to be polished. He's going to walk into the same scenario as Luciano. He's got to have time to work on his art. The Giants are going to do well. We need a hitting second baseman, and we need a DH. We go first, second, and DH. I guarantee you, Bill, we will be in the playoffs.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And don't forget, Daniel, you can't leave Patrick Bailey, blind like he was this year. You had nobody helping him in the catching position. They signed Murphy to a 2-year deal for $8 million. I don't know if he's that guy to back him up. Kirk Caselli's done a great job as a defensive catcher. Can't hit. He's not a consistent hitter in the big leagues. No question about it. He knows that. But what he's done for the team, what he's done for the pitching staff has been great.
You're right. But we've got 2 more catchers down there in the minors, and they're pretty good. They're coming up.
Okay. Well, you know what? We'll definitely find out, Daniel. But let me ask you this. When you watched when they scored 13 runs on Wednesday, everybody was pretty happy. Everybody was like, okay, hey, we got 17 hits. Everything's working. But what did you feel the last 3 games when they couldn't score? In 27 innings, they struck out 37 times. Do you still have faith in this team?
As long as they draft within the top 10, it'll work. Just trust me on this. It'll work.
All right, Daniel. Well, you know what? You and I have had this conversation about youth. We've had this conversation about building from the franchise. And right now, it's being exposed. And when I'm saying what it's exposed, just like what you and I just talked about, Luciano, when these young kids come up, the game is fast. There's a lot of crowds. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of excitement. And sometimes they can do it, and sometimes they have to go back to AAA and groom themselves. And I think that could happen with a couple of these guys. But, Daniel, thank you for the call tonight. It's always a pleasure talking to you. All right, let's go to Elk Grove and talk to Tony. Tony, again, I want to thank you for holding on to talk to me. I appreciate that from a fan. Just tell me what you got for me tonight.
You got it, Bill. Greetings. Bill, I've been watching baseball a long time, and I'll tell you, the other day with the second baseman and
Luciano?
the shortstop with that pop-up that was clubbed. Okay, that's bad enough. But then right after that, they got their hands on their hips, just standing there while the right fielder comes in and tries to salvage that play.
Yeah, Matos picks up the ball, and Encarnacion didn't even go to second base, and the runner just went to second base. Yeah, that was really a bad play altogether, and then going into the dugout, pushing each other. It just was a bad scenario for both those young players.
Yeah, and the hands on the hips, they're just standing there. It wasn't even like they tried to help the right fielder. It just, I've never seen anything like that. That's Little League baseball.
Yeah, that's bad. It's just a judgment factor. And, Fitzgerald was right. He went over too far, and he knew it, and everybody saw it. Shortstop never comes that far to second base, but he said he never heard of Luciano call for it. Now, I've talked to several people. Luciano does not boisterous. Is that the word boisterous? Say it louder. Say it, I'm here, I got it. He's not loud enough. And that's why Fitzgerald said he didn't hear him. And with Petco Park as loud as it was, that's what ends up happening.
Oh, yeah, that's one thing. But again, just standing there after the ball was dropped, the way nonchalant, I've never seen anything like that. Well,
and that's what's got to be cleaned up. Tony, we're talking about young players. Those are mental and physical mistakes, just like what Ramos did in center field, overthrowing the cut, and then not knowing where to throw the ball and just lobbing the ball in. Those are things that are so magnified in a game in the big leagues because everybody's watching all the replays, and you see it over and over and over again. Ramos wasn't a center fielder. That's why they brought McRae up. And McRae goes in center field. He gets hurt yesterday. That was the only possibility unless they put Yaz out there, but Yaz didn't even play today. So, you go into a situation with Ramos playing center field, and he's not really a center fielder. He did a really good job for months, but I think he's a damn good corner outfielder. And one of the callers said, keep him in left field and let him stay there, and I have to agree with that.
Yeah. All right, Phil. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Tony, thanks for waiting. I appreciate it. All right, let's go to Kitty in a final call. Kitty, you're the one. Kitty, how are you?
Kitty's been waiting an hour.
You know what, Kitty, and I apologize, but I've had a lot of fired up fans today. And you know what, Kitty, we always say the best for last, right?
Oh, okay. I'm still
Thanks
here.
for holding on, Kitty.
Well, and I'm not bitter or embarrassed or upset or anything. You know me. Save the best for last.
Well, you're positive. You're the positive force in our life.
Let's pump it up, okay? You ready?
Tell me how I'm going to do that.
Okay, because it doesn't matter that we're out of it now. But I understand what you're saying. Where's the passion? Where's the energy? Where is that just digging deep?
Where is it? Kitty, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where's the drive? Where's the drive? Where's the adjustments? Everything.
The adjustments, the drive, everything, Bill. I mean, you know me, and I sat in a little different spot today. I sat a little closer to the dugout, the Giants. I looked this way. I'm looking at all the Padres fans on the other side. I just didn't want to sit there tonight. I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to be surrounded by Padres. I'm sorry. But you know what? It's just like you run it out to first. I'll never forget the time that spoke volumes with the Dodgers when Puig, okay? Do you remember Puig?
Oh, I remember Yasiel. Sure I do.
Okay. Puig runs into the dugout straight from home plate when he knew he was going to get out at first. He doesn't even run it out to the bag, okay? Well,
How about, let me throw this name to you, Kitty. Hunter Pence. How many times did he jog to first base? Never.
No.
Never.
You run it out. Well, you know what? They sat Puig down for a week. Because I was sitting by a little boy next to his mom. He says, Mom, is that what you're supposed to do? Run straight to the dugout? She's like, no. Okay. Hey, you know me. I'm just going back. But I want
Kitty, it's just something, and you go to all the games. You're there all the time. What does fans feel when they're seeing this team not get a hit, not get on base, mental mistakes, throwing the wrong place? How do Giants fans feel?
A lot of different things, okay? A through Z. They're wondering, why are we playing this person? Why is he still up to bat? Why is Yaz not in tonight? What's the lineup? Because here's my final question to you, because I know you're busy. You're probably tired. I just got home. I'm sitting in the garage, and my husband comes out and he goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm waiting for Bill.
I'm waiting for Bill. He's not picked up my call yet.
It's my husband's birthday tomorrow. I want to shout out and say, happy birthday, Dave.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Kitty's husband.
Okay, so, Bill, I want to ask you this final question. You ready?
I'm ready for you, Kitty.
Okay, you're the manager. Who would have been in your starting lineup tonight?
Well, I would like to know why Yaz wasn't in there, because Joe Musgrove was pitching. And then you had Canna playing right field, and he's not a right fielder. He doesn't have the speed. His agility's not there. He's up in age. He's more of a first baseman. I never saw him play right field at Oracle yet, and that kind of surprised me. So I don't know if there's an injury with Yaz or not. Of course, Grant McCray got hurt yesterday, so somebody had to play center field. Ramos was the only one. Conforto hasn't been playing at all. All of a sudden, he was in the lineup today. So that kind of, when I saw the lineup and I saw Canna leading off, I'm like, the first thing I thought, Kitty, was probably like you. Yaz was either hurt or they're giving him a day off. That was the first thing I thought, because he's been leading off well. Where it's been hurting the Giants is Fitzgerald being hurt. He was a spark plug in this lineup, and, of course, playing good, solid shortstop. Wisely's filled in very well, but Wisely is not hitting. That's one question. He has gone south. You put Luciano at second base. You know what? You could have put Donovan Walton in there. But they're giving people room to them. Either going to make it or they're going to make mistakes. That's what the judgment is going to be on. These eyes are on every one of these players, especially the young talent. They want to see if these guys can play in the big leagues. I was just talking to one of the callers. Luciano looks lost out there. I think the game is so fast for him, and he is not comfortable playing second base. He's made some fumbles. He hasn't gone here, gone there, and it's exposing him. It's exposing him. And I think what has to happen, I think what has to happen, Kitty, is they got to look and say, what are we doing here? What can we do to make this team better? Or is this all we have? Because you got 13 more games left, and the spiral isn't going up. It's going down. It's getting worse, not better. And somehow, some way, they're going into Baltimore, into Kansas City, and then they finish in Arizona. That's why I'm saying, Giants fans, and I was upset today. I went off a little bit, and it's not the point of, Kitty. I like all the players. I like the organization. I'm a Giant at heart, but it's embarrassing, and I think that's what I want to change. So, Kitty, thank you for holding on. I always appreciate talking to you, and you have a great birthday with your husband tomorrow.
Thanks, and we'll see you on the 27th, 28th, and 29th. Go Giants!
All right. Thanks, Kitty. All right, coming up next, I sit down with Jack McKeon, Trader Jack. Sit back and listen to this one. 92 years young. That's coming up next right here in Extra Innings on the postgame show with Bill Laskey.
You're listening to the former Giants righty. It's KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Heard on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey. I'm so honored to have my guest on today. 16 years he was a Major League Baseball manager, 10 years as a general manager of the San Diego Padres. In 2003, he was a World Series champion as the manager of the Florida Marlins, a two-time National League Manager of the Year in 1999 with the Cincinnati Reds, and again in 2003 with the Florida Marlins. In 2017, the San Diego Padres inducted him into the Padres Hall of Fame. Let's welcome in Jack McKeon, alias Trader Jack. Jack, how are you today?
Great, Bill. Good to hear from you.
I'm so glad to have you on today. And one of the first things I've read, and some of the things that you phrased up, and one of the phrases you said is persistence is the key to success. I'd really like you to start with that one.
Well, that's that's something I picked up from Ray Kroc when I was general manager of the Padres, and that was his theory all the time. And as I looked through my career, I said, God, I followed that. Didn't realize what I was doing.
Well, it all started, you were born in New Jersey. You ended up going to St. Mary's High School. You were a big New York Yankee fan. Tell me a little bit about who you liked with the Yankees back then, and why did you like the Yankee organization?
Well, the funny thing is, those days I started listening to the radio way back when I was probably 10 or 11 years old. And we used to have the Jersey City Little Giants, a farm club of the New York Giants, and the Newark Bears, a farm club of the Yankees. And I became a Yankee fan and went to the Yankee Stadium a lot of times. And then one of my high school heroes, Allie Clark, was the only guy out of South Amboy that ever was in the major leagues, and he was playing for the Newark Bears. He was in the Yankee organization playing with the Newark Bears. Mm-hmm. And when I was a junior and senior in high school, he was playing with Newark. In fact, on that team was Yogi Berra. And I'd go up and I'd ride the train up to Newark with Allie and catch batting practice and work out with the Newark Bears when I was in high school. And so I became, familiar with all the Yankee players and knew, follow their careers at all. And my favorite guy was Bill Dickey because I was a catcher, so I patted myself after Bill Dickey a little bit. And, eventually I got a chance to sign and go in professional baseball myself.
You sure did. After the College of Holy Cross, Seton Hall University in 1949, at 5'8", Jack McKeon, you signed with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and you started playing minor league baseball. Excited at that time? There was really not a draft, so you ended up signing a free agent contract. Tell me a little bit about that day.
Well, when I signed those days, you didn't have the draft. You had scouts come to the house, and it was funny when I was a pretty good high school player, made All-State and everything in New Jersey, and had scholarship offers to Duke and to New York University and Holy Cross. And scouts would come to the house, and my father would talk to the scouts, and he wouldn't let me sign. He said, I don't want you to have to go through what I did as a youngster. I want you and your brother to get a college education and not have to work. So I ended up going to Holy Cross. And I was at Holy Cross every day. I'd go to the dining hall, and there'd be a statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary. and I would stop and pray for a half hour. And I said, lady, could you please help me talk to the Lord and see if my father would let me sign. Well, I went back for Christmas vacation, and the scouts came back to the house again, trying to get me to sign, trying to get my father to agree to let me sign. So he finally called me into the room, and he said, "Hey, you really want to play, don't you?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I'll make a deal with you. If you promise me you'll get a college education, I'll let you sign." Well, that was a piece of cake. So that's how I got my start.
And you did. You ended up getting a degree, Bachelor of Science degree in physical education, and you definitely promised your dad, and you had fulfilled it. Now you're into the minor league baseball seasons.
Well, let me go.
Go ahead.
Now I sign,
Mm-hmm.
and we go from so to spring training. Now they put us. We're going to go to spring training in New Orleans, and they put us on a train in New York. And I'm going to pick up another player that's going down there, and happened to be the radio announcer for the Pirates years ago, Nellie King.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're riding down. We take the night train and take a day and a half to get to New Orleans, and we're the night coach, sleepovers and all. And now we get to New Orleans, and there we are with these suitcases. Wore out suitcases. and it's not like today where people meet you and you're on your own.
Right.
So what are we going to do? So Nellie said, "What are we going to do?" I thought, well, I got it taken care of. I get a cab, and I said, "Take us to the Roosevelt Hotel." Well, I remember the hotel when I was a kid, listening to the radio, and they say, "Hi, top of the Hotel Roosevelt, Jimmy Dorsey and his band." Well, hell, I knew it. So we head to the Roosevelt Hotel, and we get there, and there's all kinds of women in evening gowns, and these guys in tuxedos and everything. And we start up the steps to go into the Roosevelt Hotel, and he says, about three guys jump at us, three Bellcats. "Where you guys going?" "We're just going to get a room." No, I'm not here. Put us in a cab. So that was my start.
That was a good start right there, Jack. And sure enough, you sign and you play with the Pirates for a few years. And in 24 years old, you became a player manager. How did that come about?
Well, that was a funny situation. First of all, I was with the Pirates for all these years, or not for a couple of years anyway. And I'm going to Elon College, and Branch Rickey calls me, and he says, "I want you to do me a favor." And he said, "I want you to go to this in the middle of the season now. And we're first place. Dan Wenzel's the manager, and we're doing real well. I'm a backup catcher to Pete Naton, who was a bonus player out of Holy Cross." But anyway, I was like a player coach. And Ricky calls and said, "I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go to Hutchison as a player." And I said, "Oh, shit." He said, call me back. Call me back in an hour and let me know what you think." So he called back. And I said, and I got to thinking, I said, "Hey, you want to manage, don't you?" I said, "Yeah." So I'm talking to myself now. I said, I'm going to tell him I'll do him a favor. So I tell him, "Okay, I'll do you a favor." Well, in the meantime, he tells me now, "Okay, good. You're going out to Hutchinson to be the manager. Take over from George Genovese." I was supposed to take over from George. Said, "Now you won't be there. You won't get the job until the club is on the road, and they'll meet you when you get back home." Mm-hmm. So I go drive to Ponca City, Oklahoma, and join the club and play a few games. And all of a sudden, I'm having lunch with Jim Wall, former Padre pitcher, and I picked the paper and it says, "Larry Dorton named manager of Hutchinson Elks." Oh, what the hell's going on, man? I was supposed to... So Dick Wagner was the general manager of the Hutchinson Club. So he drives over to Ponca City and has a meeting with me and tells me, "No, Mr. Rickey made a mistake. He didn't tell his farm director that he had told you were going to be the manager. In the meantime, the farm director had named Larry Dorton the manager." So Rickey flies into Hutchinson, and I have a meeting with Ricky Branch. He says, "You can do this. You can go back to Burlington. You can go to Williamsport AA, or you can stay here." but you will be the manager of this team next year. I said, fine. Whatever you want me to do, Branch. He said, I'd like for you to stay here. Well, I figured, oh, boy, I'm in great shape. I'm going to be the manager of the Western Association Hutchinson Elks next year. Well, what happened? The league folded.
The league falls, and then you're out of a job. How old are you, Jack? Are you still in your 20s when all this is happening?
Oh, this is before I get my first job managing. So now, I'm waiting around. Nothing. Ricky says, well, we don't have any openings in our system. So I'm at college. So, okay. So they said, well, we're going to have to let you go and make your own decisions. Okay, so I'm released. So Fayetteville calls me, an independent club in North Carolina. They call me and say, hey, Aaron Robinson's the manager. Oh, Yankee catcher's the manager. He said, come on down. Well, it's a veteran club. So I could take, I get go down to Fayetteville. I'm hitting best I ever started out, 285, 290. And cut down day on the 15th of May, I guess. He calls me in the office and said, got to let you go. He said, we got to cut down to 15 veterans. But you want to manage, don't you? I said, yeah. He said, well, don't do anything for 2 weeks. And if Aaron Robinson doesn't play, he's a player manager. If he doesn't play, he's gone. So the next day, Johnny Murphy from the Red Sox calls me. He said, look, I need to catch you over in Greensboro. Jerry Zimmerman got hurt. And I said, well, Johnny, I said, I got a chance to maybe manage. I said, but if you give me my release, if I go there and help you out, would you release me if I get this job? He said, yeah, I'll be do that. So I go over and play at Greensboro. So, and then I end up there. They fire the manager, and I take over. But incidentally, coming up to some story that you just read the last couple of days about this guy over here in Toronto that played on two teams for the same game. You remember that one where who was it?
Yeah, it was he played on the same thing.
Catcher. Yeah, the catcher. Yeah, Jansen. I did that in 1955.
Jack McKeon joined me on Extra Inning Postgame Show. Jack, you ended up going through the minor leagues, ended up managing, and you ended up coming over to the Kansas City Royals, and you ended up being in Omaha from 1969 to 1972. You won 2 league titles. And at 42 years old, 1973, the Kansas City Royals brought you up to manage them, succeeding Bob Lemon. How exciting was that now at a big league manager's position?
Well, it was great. There's no question. That was your dream all day. Today, you don't have to do that. You don't have to work your way up to big leagues today. You just get the radio booth or television booth and tell the people, let everybody know how smart you are and end up being a manager. I mean, I feel sorry. That's why I'm so happy for guys like Snicker down at Atlanta, and those guys that have spent their whole careers trying to get to the big leagues and finally got an opportunity. But today, you don't have to do it. You don't have to work today. You don't have to be.
You come to Kansas City, Jack, and the roster is filled with great players. John Mayberry, Amy Otis, Paul Splittorff. And that year, 20-year-old George Brett comes up to the big leagues, and you got to see him and you got to manage him as a rookie. How exciting was that for you?
Well, it was great. I mean, now to look back at his career, but you could see that. I mean, he was a gamer. I mean, this guy, he was a student of the game, but aggressive type, but had a brilliant brain. I mean, this guy figured out pitchers like nobody. It took him it took him a couple of months to, get his feet on the ground. But boy, after that, this guy was spectacular, aggressive. He was one of those guys, Pete Rose type of guy. He got a single, he assumed a double, and you can't believe how George Brett and Hal McRae, how many doubles they had. It was ridiculous because they busted their tail right out of the box and took singles and made them into doubles. And it was a great George was, just something special.
Well, in 1977 and 78, you came out here in Northern California, and you ended up managing the Oakland A's, another organization that was really, really a solid organization. Tell me your thoughts when you came out here, because you were with the Royals for a few years. Now you moved on to the Oakland A's.
Well, I worked with Charlie Finley. Believe me, we didn't have too good. We had a AAA club, if you remember. Charlie traded everybody. Charlie traded everybody except, well, I ended up with Vita Blue. I did have Vita Blue. And we ended up trading him, too, during the season. But, I mean, I started the season with Vita. But Charlie was, I had a AAA club, and, you worked for Charlie. Charlie would tell you, look, I am the owner, general manager, and part manager. You do what I want. But I mean, what an education! It was. If you knew how to handle him, he was okay. I mean, I'm 26 and 27. My first year with a bunch of AAA players, and I get fired.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then he calls me. He wants me to stay on as the assistant general manager, so I do that. And the next year, he fires Winkles, who replaced me. He fires him and makes me the manager again.
Up and down from the front office back on the field. And after 1978, you moved on. But in 1980, Bob Fontaine joins in and says, hey, Mr. McKeon, why don't you come up here and help the San Diego Padres? And sure enough, in 1980, you become the general manager with the San Diego Padres. A move now where you can make those drastic moves. You can be the trader, and sure enough, Trader Jack starts in with an 11-player trade, and you didn't stop there. You were a mover and a groover. How did you like being in that general manager seat?
I loved it, really. And I still general manage today and manage both. But anyway, it was fun. Now you're off the field. I love the field because it was the competition. You're always under pressure and make moves. Well, as a general manager, the only competition you got is with the agents. So I love that and making trades with general managers around the country. And I mean, I loved it. It was something. I had no experience whatsoever, but really I've been trading in players since I was in the game, since I was managing. But the thing I loved about it was the fact that you had a chance to use your brain and put a team together, which I did in '84.
Oh, you certainly did. And some of the players you picked up, Dave Revecki, Gary Templeton, Carmelo Martinez, Greg Nettles. This is what I loved. You started to draft players. And, of course, in 1981, third-round pick Tony Gwynn. You also got Mitch Williams, Tim Worrell. Some of the great players that came through the Padre organization, you started with them. Let's go to Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn was a fierce competitor, one of the best hitters in baseball. What did you see out of him out of college?
Well, let me tell you, Bill. Tony Gwynn was playing basketball. Now, San Diego State's playing all winter long. Didn't have the regulations like they have today where there's X amount of games you could play. So they're playing December, January. And Bobby Meacham's the star player. And every night in January, the stands are full of scouts and general managers watching Bobby Meacham. And I'm over there with him. But I pay no attention. Now comes April, and we play. Now, I've seen San Diego play probably 17 games. I never saw Tony Gwynn. So now opening day is tomorrow. So we always play San Diego State an exhibition game the night before the season opened, and give them the gate receipts and something. Anyway, I'm up in the box with the athletic director, and I got Eichelberger and one of the pitchers pitching. And Tony hits a double. I watch him run the bases. Next time up, he hits a triple. I said to the guy, who the hell is this guy? He said, this is Tony Gwynn. I said, God, he's the best player on this team. Where's he been? He said, he's only been out a week because the basketball season just got over. He's only been out a week. I said, well, fine. So I went out and watched a couple more times. I told our people, this is the guy we're taking. We're taking McReynolds 1 and Tony Gwynn 2. And all the scouts I had, and, these cross-checkers and what have you, and of course they'd lie today and say they all loved them. But up in the room, they said, no. He said, we like Billy Long, a pitcher out of Miami, Ohio. I said, you seen Tony Gwynn? You seen Billy Long? Yeah. I said, I haven't seen Billy Long, but you're telling me that Billy Long is better than Tony Gwynn? Oh, yeah. Okay. I said, okay, I'll take your word for it. But I said, no question, Tony Gwynn's next. And lucky we got him.
That was part 1 of Jack McKeon. More coming up next right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
From the mound to the mic, this is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him by saying to your smart speaker, play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show, Part 2 of Jack McKeon, coming up next. One of the moves you made in free agency was to bring Steve Garvey in from the Dodgers and bring him into the San Diego Padres, as well as Goose Gossage, two really known players in their organizations. Of course, Goose was with the Yankees. Persuading Steve Garvey to come from the Dodgers to the Padres, the same thing with Goose from the Yankees to the Padres. How did you do that, and was it difficult to try to change their mindset?
Well, it wasn't too bad. We met Jerry Capstein was the agent for both Garvey and Gossage at the time, and we got Garvey the first year and went over and had it was, Ballard Smith was the president of the club, and we met with the agents and Capstein, and it looked like we got him. It looks like we got him. And then all of a sudden we go back to the office and. The bean counters, and they go, oh, well, I don't know whether we can afford it. Anyway, Ray Kroc's in the hospital, so Ballard Smith says to me, come on, let's go over and visit Ray. Well, we get over to the hospital with Ray, and he says, Ballard, how are we doing with the Garvey guy? Well, Ray, I don't know whether, I talked to our people, and I don't know whether we can afford it. And he says, what do you think, Jack? I said, well, I'll tell you what, Ray. I said, type of guy we need. We got a young group here. And I said, we need some veterans to sprinkle around them, take the pressure off these kids. I said, hey, we're not going to win the pennant with Garvey this year, but he's going to push us up a year or two. Mm-hmm. Sign him, Ray said. And the same thing happened the next year, almost identical. Or got Gooses, and we're battling. I think Atlanta or somebody with them, and we got them. And go back to the offices, and then the bean counters. We just can't afford. So Ray is in the hospital this time. He eventually dies this time. We go over to the hospital, and how we go with the guy? I said, Ray, we get him, we win the pennant. Sign him. And that's how we got him.
And I tell you what, two great acquisitions for the Padres, and it worked extremely well. Jack McKeon joined me on Extra Innings. They started calling you Trader Jack. And in the New York Times in 1988, they asked you, why you trade so much? And you said, why do I trade? I'm aggressive. I'm confident. I'm a gambler. I'm willing to make a trade and not be afraid to get nailed. Great line by Jack McKeon right there. Well, how'd you feel when you did that? How do you feel when people asked you those questions?
Well, you just repeated it right there. I just got confidence in my ability to judge talent, just like, you the same thing I do in the stock market. I'm doing extremely well in the stock market. I don't check the P's and E's and all these other guys. It's almost like you got a vision. This company's going to go, or this thing is going to go. And I look at these guys and, right away I said, he can't play. I turned down so many good players. Not good players, but I turned down a lot of guys that people love. Well, a good example is I'm thinking about I don't know. I slipped my mind already.
That's okay. That's all right. Well, let's move on. Let's move on to something. In 1984, of course, the San Diego Padres win the National League Championship, and you ended up playing in the World Series against the Detroit Tigers. A very good year with the Padres. Went right through the National League Championship Series. How did you feel about this club? Was it enough for you to see them win the World Series?
When 1884, I saw a club that was coming together with the addition, and the final piece of the puzzle of the 84 club was when I put together was when I traded for Nettles. Mm-hmm. The day before the season opened, I traded for Nettles. So I said, we get Nettles, we'll win the pennant for sure. And then everything fell into place, and Dick Williams did a good job managing these guys, and everything fell together. But then we ran into that, the team that Detroit that had that spectacular year that we just, couldn't cope with them. But putting the team together was the key. That was the key.
Jack McKeon joining me on Extra Innings for a few more minutes. One of the great phrases, we talked about it early about persistence, but I loved what you said. Accountability. Accountability for each player. Look in the mirror and tell me if you're giving me 100%. Where did that come from? Was that a manager's quote, or did that come from the general manager mind?
That came from me.
That's even better.
I never forget. We didn't win the pennant this year, but then when I took over the Padres, I don't know if we're going to get to this. I took over the Padres when I was managing, and I had a meeting one time, and I made a few trades, and I brought a few guys in that weren't doing very well, and they started nipping to the press, I wanted to be out of here and all that stuff. So we came into Atlanta. I had a clubhouse meeting. Now, don't forget, I'm the general manager at the time and the manager. I'm doing both jobs.
Right.
So I have a clubhouse meeting down in Atlanta, and I tell them, guys, I was like, let me tell you something, guys. You better get on your damn hands and knees tonight and thank the Lord you got a job, because I'll tell you right now, I've tried to trade you guys, and nobody wants you. we went out and won, I think, like 20 out of 28. And we were 20 and 8.
See how you are, Jack, with these phrases. They work all the time for you. And sure enough, you come back on the field, and in 2003, you end up leading the Florida Marlins into a World Series championship, a very solid year for the Marlins. And it was an exciting time for you as you finally get to hoist the World Series championship trophy. How exciting was that in your time as a manager?
Oh, that was a special year, really. When you look at it, I took over on Mother's Day, May 10th. The club was 10 games under 500, and I went down there, and was the funny thing is, I'm going back a year or two before that, I was managing the Reds, and I said to Don Gullett one day, sitting on the bench down there in Florida, I said, God, wouldn't I like to manage that club? I said, they got enough talent over there, but they're in neutral. Nobody needs a kick. So now I'm the manager, right? So so I go in, I fly out of here. We make the deal about midnight, and I got to manage the club the next day, and then we're going to head to San Diego. And so I have to get up 6 o'clock in the morning to get down to Florida. I get down there, I have a clubhouse meeting. I walk through there, and some of the players later on told me, they said, we looked at this. Who the hell's this guy?
Another one of those clubhouse meetings, Jack, that you woke the team up, and certainly they listened.
Well, wait till you hear. So now I have a team meeting. So, I manage enough years to know where I've been, the players have taken advantage of me. So they ain't going to take advantage of me this time, because I don't. First thing I said to the team was, I said, fellas, let me tell you something. I don't need this job. But I'm down here to tell you one thing. This club is going north. Now, if you want to get on that train, fine. If you don't want to get on that train, I said, there's the effing door.
See? There you go, Jack. There's another one of those persistent lines, If you're going to play, let's go. If you're not, out the door. And it worked. And sure enough, World Series champions. A couple more questions with Jack McKeon. And then sure enough, you win the World Series. And in 2004, you get to take the team to the White House and you meet President George Bush. How exciting was that for you?
Well, it was very exciting. It's the first time I've been, in and around the Capitol buildings, the government buildings in Washington, being close so many times, but never got to go there. And to get to meet, him and my congressman, Harry Coble from North Carolina, was special. One of the highlights.
Yeah, one of the things that happened in 2017 for your final thoughts, you get inducted into the San Diego Padres Hall of Fame, a very large honor, and some of the great players that achieve that. How special was that? And when you got inducted into it, tell me your final thoughts on how you talk to the fans.
Well, it was something about. It's always exciting to have somebody, recognize you years later. And, after I left San Diego, you didn't think that, when they sold the club and we all got let go, you didn't think that they'd even pay attention to you. But, you know, when they brought me back to give me the award or put me in the Hall of Fame, it was very special. And what I did to the fans was tell them how much I appreciated. You know, I was there when things were bad. And, I mean, we weren't drawing anybody. We weren't winning anything. And you know, to be able to get the help from Ray Kroc to tell me when I first met him and took the job was do what you think is right and don't even ask me, just do it. And that's how I got the nickname Trader Jack, because I took unloaded. But anyway, to tell the fans that they, you know, one of the favorite places I've been, San Diego and Florida, really spend enough time in those places, you get to love the people and they love you. So it was just an exciting time.
Well, Jack, it was an honor having you on today. It's always a pleasure catching up with you, my friend, and be well, my friend.
Well, thank you, Bill, because I got a lot more stories for you when
and we might have to do it again, but I'm looking forward to it, Jack. Thanks again for your time today.
Okay, Bill, thank you. Give my best to everybody out that way.
All right, that was Jack McKeon on Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with former Giants right-hander Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR. Play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show as we wind down a Saturday. First and foremost, I want to thank all Giants fans out there for all the calls and waiting to talk to me. We're going to do it again tomorrow, Sunday, against the San Diego Padres. 1:05 first pitch. Landon Roop gets a start for the San Francisco Giants against a left-hander, Martin Perez. If you didn't get to catch Jack McKeon, you can hear that on all KNBR podcasts. That will be up as soon as the show is over. 13 games left remaining for the San Francisco Giants, and we'll see how they contend tomorrow against the San Diego Padres. I want to thank my producer today, Greg Silver, and all of you once again. For Bill Laskey, be safe, be well, and we'll do it again tomorrow right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
It's another great outing for the righty on your home of San Francisco Giants baseball. This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.